What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday to everyone. Hopefully everyone is doing well, staying safe, healthy. If you had to take a test for any of the viruses out there right now, hopefully you have tested negative. If you did test positive, I hope you have a full and speedy recovery with no long-term issues and no long COVID issues. It is time now for the weekly wastewater update on all the viruses for Sunday, December 10th, 2023. First off, if you are new to my channel, welcome to my channel. This today is where we do the weekly check on wastewater for various different viruses from COVID to flu, RSV, norovirus, Mpox, you name it. If it's a virus, we can check on it in wastewater. And if at the end of this video you learned something, give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. We do pandemic updates and updates on the different things that are a risk to your health each and every day here on my channel. Alright, today I thought we would start off with the CDC page. We're kind of going to do things a little bit differently. We're not going to go click on every wastewater site in each region. We're going to do some here and there, and then we're just going to take a look at regions that have really high levels of viruses right now. First, let's start off with the old CDC map, and I'll explain to you what these different colors mean. Any site that's in white, that's a new site. There's 85 of them. Then you have the dark blue, which is 0 to 19% COVID detected. That right now is 17 sites. Yeah, not that many sites right now are having low COVID levels. Then you jump up to a moderate shade of blue, 20 to 39% COVID detected. That's 104 sites. Then we're really moderate, but it's a lighter shade of blue. It's this shade right here. You see there's a few of them out there. It's 40 to 59% COVID detected. That's 276 sites. And then unfortunately, there are now 353 orange sites at 60 to 79%. That's getting high. And then at really high levels of COVID, 80 to 100%, it's in the red. Yes, that has jumped by 69% to 184 sites. So we're just going to go region by region with this, and we're not going to go in any particular order today. And the first thing that jumps out at you is this. Look at the Great Lakes. Look at Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, come out here to Nebraska. You're seeing a ton of orange and red. The virus levels for COVID, this is COVID right now, for COVID is really high in this region. We're just going to click on a few of these sites. Let's go up closer to Detroit. You can see Detroit's in the red. Some of these sites don't always update, and you can see here, we're just going to randomly click on them. Look at this. They are all rapidly rising. The JN.1 COVID variant is a real issue right now. Look at this. Butler, Ohio area, rapidly rising. Then we come over here to Lake, Illinois. We're getting close to Chicago now. You can see here, look at this. I'm just going to randomly go along here. You can see there are a lot of sites that are rapidly rising. Cook, this is Chicago. It's still in the orange, but should this trajectory continue, you're going to soon go into the red. We're hearing of hospitalizations in these areas rapidly going up. It's really concerning. I mean, it is really concerning at this point in the ballgame. We'll come back to more for this area in a bit when we go over to wastewater scan, and we have another CDC map that we will also look at as well. The Northeast, you can see here, not a lot of orange and red in New York State yet. We are seeing more orange than red sites, not too many. And can we get New York City? Nope, yet again this week. All the New York City sites are not reporting. Any site you see on this map in gray means no recent data. It says it right here. No recent data for the gray sites. So that's not a good thing. Maine is starting to see some red now. And that probably will be one of the places we take a stop on wastewater scan in just a few moments. Coming down here to the mid-south, we take a look at the Carolinas. And Virginia, we can see here, there is some orange showing up. There's also a lot of gray sites that are not reporting. We're seeing orange around Charlotte. We're seeing a lot of orange and red starting to pop up in Virginia. Atlanta, we'll take a look at that at wastewater scan. Florida, some orange starting to show up. Louisiana, come on. We need some data from you. Arkansas, we need more data from you as well. Same with Tennessee. Tennessee and Kentucky need more wastewater sites in general. And then, of course, we come over to Oklahoma, similar problem. Taking a look down here in Texas, you can see we'll just click on some sites. And you can see Harris, Montgomery, Texas. Yeah, take a look at that. It was starting to rise. It's leveled off a little bit. And Texas has kind of been all over the place. We're still trying to figure what's going on with Texas. Hospitalizations are going up there, but when I come over to Texas, and I do have it up here, I always keep all my pandemic stuff up on this window. You can see cases were down this week, but yet hospitalizations were up. So kind of a mixed picture in Texas. I'm leaning towards that your issue is there's not enough people getting tested at this time. Alrighty, let's go back to the CDC wastewater page, and then we can take a look at California here. You do see that there's some orange, and look at this in Utah. A lot of orange and red, and we do know Utah cases are starting to rise. Pacific Northwest, Oregon, not a lot of sites reporting. Starting to see some come back up on the map now. Then when we come up here to the Seattle area, you can see here wastewater is rising. But you know what? There's another way we can take a look at this. We can also take a look at what's going on with wastewater activity by state. And you can see these really dark shades of blue. There are areas with very high wastewater. And the darkest shade, look at this, the Midwest, the plains, is starting to see that show up. Vermont up in the Northeast is starting to see that show up. And then you can see there's also another shade just below that. That's also very high. So the Great Lakes, if there was any region that's doing the worst in the United States right now, it's the Great Lakes. And it seems to me like it's expanding across the country. JN.1 is really going to town in that area. Also, hospitalizations in that area are rising quite a bit as well. You come to the South, though. The South's not doing terrible yet. I mean, look at Georgia. Georgia and South Carolina, low wastewater values still. Florida, it's up to very high. Alabama is up to very high. You can see the Carolinas are as well. So it is definitely getting worse, but for some reason, Georgia and South Carolina are not terribly high yet. But when we come to the West Coast, we're starting to see high levels show up in California, high levels in Nevada, Arizona, Utah. Of course, there's no data for New Mexico. There's a whole bunch of states on there. Louisiana's one of them. Texas is listed as high. So again, I'm going with that drop in cases. That's bogus. Go with the hospitalizations. Hospitalizations are rising. You have so many people that don't bother to get tested, or they do the at-home test, which doesn't get reported. And to be fair, it's expensive to go out and get a test right now in person. Not all insurances cover it. Washington, still coming up as low. I think within the next couple weeks that will probably reverse the trend and we will start to see things rise in that area. Look at Montana. Montana's very high. Moderate in Colorado, which makes sense when we go to take a look at the Colorado dashboard, which do I have it here? Yes, I do. The Colorado dashboard, you can see here, hospitalizations, they're dropping slightly, so we wouldn't expect to see Colorado switch to high or very high just yet. We'll have to see what happens. They're seeing a multi-week drop at this point, and coming back over here, you can see Kentucky is still in moderate, but again, these are two areas, Kentucky and Tennessee. I would like to see you double, if not triple, the number of wastewater sites, and come on, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, New Mexico, Wyoming, North Dakota, yes, and even Connecticut as well, and Washington, D.C. Get your stuff together so you can see full and accurate data here on the map. It's ridiculous. Oh, and there's also Oregon. Oregon is still coming up as minimal, but again, let's go back to the CDC map. A lot of stations in Oregon wastewater sites are not reporting at this time. Now we come over to wastewater scan. We're going to make some stops in each region of the United States. We're going to take things a little bit further. We're going to take a look at some other viruses. Because remember, COVID's not the only virus out there. COVID is a big problem, but hey, there's other stuff on top of this, and all this put together is putting a tremendous strain on the hospitals right now, and is resulting in a lot of people being sick. Remember, COVID can affect your immune system. It can weaken your immune system. It can also help the other viruses spread more. Why? Well, if your immune system's weakened, you're more susceptible to catch whatever other viruses out there from someone. So taking a look at Portland, Maine. Let's do this, shall we? Portland, Maine at this time. High for COVID. dropping a little bit on the most recent update, but I mean, it's been such a sustained rise that, yeah, it's concerning. RSV, and you're going to see this, I think, quite a few times. I would be surprised if we don't see this a lot, because I'm hearing about RSV exploding in the Northeast states from hospital perspectives. And take a look at this. Portland, Maine is seeing a big increase in RSV right now. It is rapidly rising. Influenza A was rising. It's dropped ever so slightly since. Norovirus is still moderate at this time, and it's dropped ever so slightly, just about down to somewhere between 10 and 15,000 pathogens at this time. And we can see here that there are no Mpox detections at this time. But look at this. Every sampling for hepatitis A has come up with a detection. That is not good. That's something we do not like to see. Continuing on here, let's take a look here in Vermont. What's going on in the Montpelier area? Well, already we can see COVID is high. It's continuing to rise. RSV, look at this. Wow, almost straight up for RSV. That's not good to see. Influenza A is rising at this time. Norovirus is medium. That's also rising. And hepatitis A not being detected. No Mpox at this time as well. Now let's make our way down to Boston. Boston is a very important wastewater site. Why, you might ask? Well, it's a really big wastewater site. In fact, 2.4 million population served at this wastewater site. COVID, rapidly rising. RSV is now going straight upward. Influenza A, it dropped a little bit. Now it's starting to rise again. Norovirus, look at this. Wow, norovirus is also rapidly rising. That's not good to see. Hepatitis A, a lot of detections of that. No detections of Mpox at this time. Let's come down to Connecticut. Got to be fair and do something with Connecticut. There's one site here for Connecticut, and that is COVID. It's high and rising. RSV did rapidly rise throughout November. Now as we headed into December, it's flattened out. But again, it's at high levels right now. It's listed as high, so be careful in that area. Just because somewhere it's not continuing to rise doesn't mean, oh, well, it's not rising anymore. The risk ended. No, it's just staying at these really high levels, which that's not good. Even if you start to see a little bit of a drop, okay, did the value change from high to moderate to low yet? No, it's still high. Influenza type A, yeah, that's starting to rise as well. Influenza B is low at this time. Interesting that they have the two different types here. HMPV is high at this time. Norovirus is also high. That has slowed a little bit, but again, your risk is still high in this area because the spread is high. Hepatitis A is not detected, and Mpox is not detected at this time. Continuing our way down to the south, let's make a stop off in southeast Pennsylvania. Let's go down here to Chester, Pennsylvania, and we can see here in Chester, Pennsylvania, COVID is high, but it's bouncing all around. Point is, it's still high, so your risk of getting it is high in that area. RSV was high, and it still is. It's dropped some, but on the most recent update, looks like it wants to start going back up again. Makes sense. I'm hearing a lot of RSV cases here in southeast Pennsylvania. Influenza A is low. HMPV is rising. And look at this, hepatitis. Yes, there's been detections of it. No detections of Mpox at this time. Now let's come down to Washington, D.C. This is an important area to take a look at. Fairly new site that just came on, so we can't really get a calculation of the levels, but take a look at this time. Looks like COVID was dropping some. RSV, though very early, I mean, this is a newer site. It is rising. To influenza A, can't really get much of a reading on that. Norovirus is rising at this time. Wow. Actually, in fact, it is rapidly rising. Hepatitis A, no detections, and Mpox, no detections at this time. Let's continue our way south. And let's see, should we do a stop in North Carolina? Why not? Let's go to Winston-Salem. What's going on there? COVID is rising at this time. RSV, wow, high and rapidly rising. Influenza A did drop, still high. Now it's rising again. Taking a look at influenza B, and yeah, that's dropping. So influenza A high, but influenza B is low. Norovirus is high at this time. Hepatitis A not detected, and no Mpox detection. Let's make our way down to Atlanta now. We'll take a trip down Interstate 85, and let's see. Let's just go down here. How about we go down to the South River Water Center? We're just going to do one stop in Atlanta. COVID is high, but that calculation looks like it's a little outdated. It's dropped some. RSV did drop, and now it's rapidly rising again. Still listed as high. Influenza A is high, dropping ever so slightly, but it is still a problem. Influenza B is low, but overall trajectory is up with that. Norovirus is high at this time. Hepatitis A, no detections in a long time, and look at this. There is a recent detection of Mpox back on December 3rd in the Atlanta area. We'll have to check some of the other sites. Stay tuned during the pandemic update during the week. Maybe we'll include a few more sites to see if that continues to be a problem. Let's take a stop in Florida, in Orlando area. Let's see what's going on. Orlando is medium at this time for COVID. RSV is high, dropping some. Influenza is low, and influenza B is low. Norovirus is high and still rising. Hepatitis A was detected back at the end of October, going into the start of November, and no Mpox at this time. Now let's make our way. Where do we want to go? Let's go over to Texas if we can, and we will take a look at the Dallas area. I believe we can see Dallas area. Yes, we can go northeast of Dallas. And actually, no, we can do Dallas. Okay, are these new wastewater sites, or have they been there? Nope, they've been there. All right, medium for COVID, rising at this time. High RSV levels at this time, and wow, actually, they've been rising since October. Influenza, rising slightly. Taking a look down here, hepatitis A, some detections in the past, non-recent, and no Mpox detections. All right, let's make our way up to the Great Lakes. Then we have to go out to the west. Actually, let's make a stop in Arkansas. We haven't taken a look at Arkansas in quite some time. Arkansas. Here's Harrison, Arkansas. Small wastewater site. High for COVID and rapidly rising. High for RSV and rapidly rising. Influenza A and influenza B. I don't know if it's not being detected or they're just not checking for it. Nothing being listed there. No hepatitis A and no Mpox at this time. Continuing our way northward, we want to make a stop in Northeast Ohio, because I'm hearing Northeast Ohio is not doing so great. There's someone who posts on Twitter who works in a hospital, and he says his ER is getting slammed. And yep, here it is, Akron, Ohio. I don't know if he's near there or not, but in Akron, Ohio, things are not going so good at this time. RSV high and rapidly rising. SARS-CoV-2 is high but dropping ever so slightly. Influenza A is low. Influenza B, look at this. Wow. Starting to rapidly rise for influenza B. Norovirus is high and still rising at this time. No hepatitis A and no Mpox detection at this time. Now we're going to make our way over to just west of Chicago. Let's see what's going on there. We can see COVID at this time is high and rising. RSV is high and rising. Influenza A is high, but it has dropped some significantly. That's good to see. And then coming down here, hepatitis has not been an issue since mid-October, and no Mpox at this time. Let's go out to the west. Let's see here. Should we make a stop? How about we make a stop off in Nebraska, if we can, and see what's going on there? Yes, we can make a stop in Nebraska. We can come down here to Lincoln, Nebraska, where COVID at this time is high. RSV is low, rising ever so slightly. Influenza, actually not much of an issue. Norovirus is high and rapidly rising. No hepatitis A and no Mpox at this time. Continuing our way out to the west. Now we are going to go out to the west coast, but we're going to make one stop first, just southeast of Denver, and see what's going on here in Colorado. High COVID, high RSV, high influenza, but dropping. You can see here, hepatitis A is not an issue, and Mpox is not an issue. Now we're going to California. We're going to do 2 sites in California, and I think we're going to see if we can't do anything up in Washington. So, stopping off in California, how about we come over here to, let's see, how about we come over to Oakland? That's what I want to do, is Oakland, California. We have not looked at Oakland in a while. We usually look at San Francisco. In Oakland, 740,000 population at this site. Medium for COVID, dropping. Look at that. RSV is high, but it is starting to drop. Influenza A dropped some. Norovirus was high, and it still is. It's dropped ever so slightly. Hepatitis A, yes, that's an issue again. And no Mpox. Let's go down to Southern California. We'll see what's going on down here in Los Angeles. And in LA at this time, medium for COVID, high for RSV, high for influenza A. Norovirus is medium, but it is still rising. Hepatitis A is detected and no mpox at this time. Continuing our way northward, let's say you live up in Washington State, and we'll see what's going on there. So if you live in Washington at this time, we should see that levels are not necessarily rising terribly. Some things are, some things aren't. COVID is rapidly rising. RSV is rapidly rising, but influenza, still low. It's rising some, and maybe this is the start of what's going to be a rapid rise, but right now it's not a big issue. Influenza B has dropped. Norovirus is rising. Wow, actually I stand corrected. Norovirus is rapidly rising, and it's already high, almost up to 40,000, if not over 40,000 pathogens already. No mpox and no hepatitis A at this time. All right, if you want to see some more wastewater sites, check my pandemic update during the week. I will include stuff, maybe some Alaska and some Hawaii sites and some of the states we missed today. Alrighty, folks, that does it for this week's wastewater update. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content like this, subscribe to my channel down below. Share this with anyone that you know who needs to see this. I know, the video today went over 20 minutes. I hate when that happens, but it is what it is. There's a lot of important data here that we had to show. So we will have another wastewater update again next week. We will have the pandemic update again tomorrow. I will see you all again next time. Until I see you again next time, stay safe, everyone, and have a fantastic Sunday afternoon.